Hello, Ron Foster.
Hello, Scott Moore.
Welcome to the tour. We are out here in the middle of nowhere for sure. Today we are talking about AppSec stuff, security, and specifically what I want to talk about with you today is what are the biggest challenges that people face in application security today in the present? What are the biggest things you see as challenges?
I think probably one of the biggest things is being proactive. I mean, when people think about application security, how many times do we see some story in the news where, there's been some type of incident that's happened, they don't have an incident response, or they're going to call a company to help them with an incident response, so they're always acting in a reactive manner. So the first thing is to start thinking proactively. That's right out of the gate. So we have to start thinking proactively and start thinking about how do we defend our stuff instead of reacting to an attack.
So what else?
That's your starting point. And when people get beyond that and they start thinking, hey, I want to, start building an AppSec program, they start thinking at the perimeter. So they're going to start thinking about, some type of SIEM device, or a firewall or something of that nature, some type of logging appliance to start tracking, the different types of attacks that are happening. So they're going to use heuristics engines and things of that nature to kind of head them off so that, they get an alert, they know something's happening, shut it down. So that's usually where most people start, but it's not enough.
So when people want to get proactive, do they struggle finding people who actually know what they're doing and the skill set, or is there something else before they actually get started to really hit the ground running?
People is always going to be an issue. In this industry, period, there's a struggle to find qualified people who can do the work. And there's a lot of specialization as well. So you got to deal with that, and you also have to deal with just, how deep do I want to get in? And, we still live in a culture where people want to check a box, so that's a big problem. It's like, AppSec's a really interesting area because it's one of the few areas where from a regulation standpoint, we've got to do this. And so since we got to do this, we're going to probably do the minimum a lot of companies are going to do, which brings me back to the reactiveness versus being proactive. If we get rid of this mindset, I'm checking a box, and I actually want to defend our company, reduce our risk, then it's going to change how you approach everything. And you're going to move out beyond just buying a device, sticking it on your network, and saying that's going to be good enough.
When you talk about their specialization even within AppSec, so it's not like it's just about protecting my website. It's also about protecting my internal stuff, the hardware and infrastructure that's running on, or if I'm in the cloud. So you're saying you're going to have people that have specializations in each of these areas to have you covered for the full scope, right?
You really are. To say there's one person that can do, static code analysis, dynamic analysis, can handle open source, can handle the infrastructure stuff, cloud, everything. Those people are out there. They're gonna charge you for that. They're gonna be a lot of money, and they're probably gonna be folks who have been in the industry for decades, so they've aggregated all that experience. If you're talking about people who are just out of school and stuff like that, they're gonna have some exposure to areas, but really quickly they're gonna have to find an area and dig in and learn that area really well. Then after they've had time in that area, then they'll move to another area if they want. But usually you're gonna find folks that are really good at a thing and another person that's really good at this thing, and you're gonna build a team of people who have some specialization in some different areas, and between all of these folks, you're gonna have what you need to build your program. And that's what it comes down to, is you're building a program. You're not just, saying I need a box, or I need a person, or I need some type of service. And that's where, consultancies like ours comes in, because we have all of these folks.
So how can Saltworks help them with that if they say, we know we need this now, so what do we do?
First, let's see what you got. Let's see what you need. Let's help you first assess your risk. And there's a thing out there, you can, yourself, you can download it, you can find it out there, and there's documents where you can start kind of doing a little checklist and see, hey, what's my risk? And of course, you really want someone else to do that externally, because they're going to be way less biased than you are. And once you kind of have an assessment of how mature you are, where your risk is, you can think outside of security. Just think about the CISM model. how mature is my company just from a processes and procedures, that applies also into security as well. We have our own models of that type of thing that we're going to use to help figure out how mature you are. So you kind of start there. Let's figure out where you're at, and then we can help you figure out where you need to go.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ron, for the information.
It's a pleasure.